suppose in the interest of ethics in the world we're living in today, a person that's involved in different things should declare an interest in the budget. I didn't hear anybody else doing it, but for fear that a person would be condemned after, I'll declare it. I think it's ironic here today to see people in government clapping for the budget when you think what people are suffering at home, despite the good news that's contained in certain sectors of this budget. I don't think they would be really happy to see people jumping around the place, smiling and clapping each other on the shoulders. And the people watching today, I don't think they're going to be too happy. With regard to the cost of living, the €300 payments for the ESB, that's okay, but we all know that the proper way to have dealt with this issue was to have capped the bills, to have capped the cost. The €10,000 for businesses, many businesses have contacted me since this announcement saying that they will not qualify because if your usage went up, when compared with the unit prices, you may not actually qualify for what the government have announced here today. The carbon tax increases going ahead, but then offset by the removal of the NORA tax. To say that you're putting on an increase in the first instance and then slashing it right away, are you not in effect admitting that the carbon tax that you wanted to go up, impounding on top of people, that it was actually wrong, and you were admitting that? With regard to social welfare, the €12 increase in social welfare payments is welcome, of course, but the question is, will that come in tonight at midnight? No, it won't. Will it be March, or how far out will he put it before he'll actually give it to people? Why are we waiting until January 1st to implement the new income thresholds? Why is it not effective from midnight? The Rural Independent Group sought a €20 increase across all social welfare payments. The Rural Independent Group also sought the full reintroduction of the bereavement grant, which was taken away, and I'll never let them forget it, by the Labour and Fine Gael government from 2011 on, when they totally disregarded poor people who were suffering from bereavement at a tough time, and Labour and Fine Gael thought nothing of taking it away from people. With regard to the taxation and the 50 cents on a pack of cigarettes, which of course will go on from 12 o'clock tonight, I don't welcome that, because I'd be happier if nobody ever again smoked. But at the same time, people sometimes in life, they have difficulties, and maybe one of the only things that they have that gives them a bit of comfort is a cigarette. And if they want to smoke, I'm not certainly going to put my shoulder to the wheel of making it more expensive on them to smoke. I welcome the VAT rate being reduced to newspapers. This is indeed very welcome, and I had lobbied very strongly on this matter and made my views known to the Minister, and people like the Kerryman newspaper and the Kerry's Eye in County Kerry will benefit from this, and of course I welcome that. The €4 increase per week for the squeezed middle, people earning between 24,000 and 36,000, this is absolutely shocking in terms of the cost of living, and we have people over there clapping for that this evening. With regard to the hospitality VAT rate, 9% until February. On behalf of the hospitality sector in County Kerry, I'm asking you, are you going to scrap it after February? Would you not tell the business is the truth at this time? I know that in County Kerry, as you are well aware, we are the capital, the tourism capital of the Western world, and we do tourism better than anybody else, but we'd like to know what is your intention after February. Earlier on this evening, I had spoken to Michael Cronin of the MC Group based in Cookishlock in County Kerry, who produces concrete blocks and also builds homes. And of course, in the middle of a housing crisis, he has highlighted the fact that instead of helping to make it easier to build houses, what you're doing is putting a 10% levy on concrete products, the very thing we need most to build our homes. And what sort of insanity is this? And it will also affect, and did anybody in government think about this, the people who export precast concrete products across the borders. They're going to be at a massive disadvantage after this 10% levy, because it's not just on concrete blocks, it's on concrete products. There was no consultation whatsoever with the building sector. Concrete has already gone up by 30% over the last 12 months. This now will simply be passed on by companies because they have no choice. They can't carry that increased cost. It would have been €8,000 last year for 100 metres of concrete. That's what it takes for the average foundation of a house, in case you don't know, 100 metres, €8,000. That is now going to be €12,000. Another thing, in case you don't know, it takes approximately 8,000 blocks to build an average home. The cost of those blocks today will have jumped by €1,500. That's an awful hit if you're a young person that's trying to get planning permission and dig out a foundation, put down a raft and build your blocks, and to think that the government are attacking you today for doing that? Tell me, where's the sense in that? I welcome the €87 million for the retrofitting, but the Rural Independent Group sought a reduction of 0% on all retrofitting, insulation and renewable energy products. This did not happen. Why didn't it happen? Because it would have been a fine, sensible thing to do. We wouldn't have looked for it unless it was sensible. But of course, anything to do with common sense, you don't take on board at all, at all. Another thing that doesn't make you a whole pile of sense, and you'd want to be woken up to it, the Help to Buy scheme. This is for first-time buyers, and of course I welcome that. But what about people who are buying a second-hand property? And that's going to be their home. And surely be to God, we have an awful lot of people in that category. I know that in County Kerry, the amount of new private housing schemes that we've seen being developed is very, very slim on the ground, unfortunately. But there are plenty of second-hand homes changing hands. And surely, be to God, a young couple starting out in life, they should have the same advantage and the same facility available to them as the Help to Buy people who would be buying a new home. So that's very, very important. With regard to local authorities, they need to be provided with more and more funding for their own houses to ensure that they can be retrofitted at a much faster rate, and more money needs to be given to local authorities to have a proper repair and maintenance programme for their own stock. For instance, whether that's to do with putting on proper heating, improving windows and giving people a proper standard of a house. Education. The contribution for third level fees being reduced by €1,000. This is fine, but it's for this year and it's on a once-off basis. This isn't right. If you brought it in, tell the people who are going to leave it in and eventually scrap the fees altogether to allow people proper access to third-level education. No changes in the SUSI grants threshold as what was sought by the Rural Independent Group. Health, 23.4 billion for health. Firing money at a problem in this case will not work. Year after year the budget goes up, but nothing ever changes. 23.4 billion, but I will be still organising buses of people to go from County Kerry to Belfast to have their cataracts, their hips, their knees, their tonsils and whatever else procedures carried out in Belfast, because despite the billions of a budget, we cannot take care of them here in the south. And with regard to farming and fishermen, they were certainly let down today, and that's wrong.
Carl Nolan.